Hello world! WayofTime here, bringing to you another episode of Blood Magic Developer Commentaries. So it's actually been quite a long time since I did one of these. The last time was a few months ago. Obviously I'm not going to look at the date because it's probably going to be very, very depressing. Anyway, so there has been quite a few changes in the mod, quite a few updates. 1.10 has come out, Minecraft 1.10 I mean, and obviously you probably know by now, but Blood Magic works on both 1.9.4 and 1.10 using the same jar. I think 1.10.2 is coming out sometime soon, but honestly, by the time this video comes out, it'll probably already be out, so I'm not going to bother talking about that sort of stuff because it is kind of, well, it doesn't really make sense. Why would I talk about... Anyways, obviously I'm getting a little sidetracked here. Let's try to not do that because we have a few things that we want to talk about. So, living armor upgrades. I've been thinking quite a bit about them, and one of the main things that I've learned while doing this is that sure, having positive upgrades is good. Basically all the upgrades currently in the release version of the mod are positive. And that is nice, but there are a few negatives with having it as all positive upgrades. One of the things is that it's possible that an optimal set will come out, and also it makes it kind of overpowered in the sense that you can just go for Speedy Gonzales and go zipping around and you wouldn't have a care in the world. And although your protection is iron level, you could upgrade that. You could upgrade other things. And having all these different upgrades, there's not much room for necessarily uniqueness. You can't over-specialize in a specific thing. I mean, sure, I'm specializing in speed by just running around while doing this. However, it doesn't really... My gut saying for this is that everything being good can be bad. So, let's talk about... Yeah, I guess since I already started talking about this, I might as well continue. I'm going to be steadily introducing negative living armor upgrades. I don't know if you will be able to train them. Some places it makes sense to be able to train these certain things. Others, not so much. But now you'd be wondering, why the heck would I waste upgrade points on getting negative living armor upgrades? Well, first of all, let us get a few upgrades. Healthy. Let's say you have healthy level 5 and tough palms level 4 somehow. I think both of these can be added to our upgrades. Yep, we have 87, and let's try to get healthy level 6 here. Let's put those away. Healthy 6 and healthy 7. So you can't get a healthy level 6. Unfortunately. So if I go to game mode 0, you can see I'm at my maximum health right down there. 20 hearts, it's a lot of health. However, now, sure, I'd have to, work on quick feet or something. I could do the ritual to upgrade the maximum number of points I can get on my armor, but maybe I don't want to do that. Maybe I don't actually want to be fast. Maybe I want to risk being a bit slower so that I can be a defensive juggernaut and bulwark. Well, now you can. If you decide to take an arrow to the knee and get a limp leg. Currently, obviously, no recipe to craft this, but if you use this, now you have permanently slowness on you, and you walk around and run slower, but now you have a few more upgrade points to sell. I know, indeed. Huh? So, living armor upgrades, negative living armor upgrades, if you decide to partake in them, they'll give you a negative effect. This negative effect can range from mild annoyance, like slowness. Sure, you can overcome it with a speed potion, whatever. two downright annoying ones. I'll talk about some of my ideas for that in a second. So, this limp leg effect gives you 50 more points in order to add to your upgrade. So I can go for healthy level 7 and have 2 points left over. Now I have 16 extra hearts of health, but I am slow. I am a slow person compared to what would happen if I didn't take the limp leg upgrade. However, I now am a lot more healthy, which is helpful since this piece of armor right now is specialized so that it is a self-sacrifice build. Since I have, dang it, I thought I got tough palms, but I got tough skin. Anyways, if I were to decide to have tough palms instead of tough skin, anyways, this actually makes it more like a defensive juggernaut because now I have tough skin and melee damage. Basically does nothing onto me. I wonder. Zombie pigman. And a sword, because I like being able to defend myself. So if I were to spawn this and hit it, it's hardly doing anything right now. It's like, I don't really care about you. I'm just gonna smack you around because I do not care whatsoever that you are touching me in bad, inappropriate places. Let's move on from that. So you can see that you can now specialize your living armor so that it becomes a lot more powerful at the cost of suffering a negative effect. So I talked about limp leg. That basically makes it so that you have horrible speed. But other things that I'm thinking of is not epileptic, but basically the one where you fall asleep all the time. So randomly, you'll start to get nausea, and then you'll be blind and you'll have slowness like 20 on you for a few seconds, indicating that you fell asleep. Then you either have to get slapped awake or you have to wait for the time limit, and then you're going to be, yep, all better. Where was I? Oh yeah, I was in the middle of combat and they decide to eat my face. It's fine if you're doing some random stuff, but the negatives and the positives should be comparable. Other things which can be really annoying is obviously not constant nausea. If I were to add constant nausea, obviously you could go for it, but some people get physically sick when they have constant nausea. But other fun things are like Stormtrooper, where your arrows are now no longer as accurate. Let's get a bow because that's just fun to think of. Stormtrooper, your arrows are not accurate, so you wouldn't be able to do that. It'd be like that. Someone actually suggested that, and it was amazing. There are other few things that I thought of, like anemic, where your health would be low, or maybe one where you're constantly hungry. Maybe not constantly hungry, because constant hunger can be really detrimental. But I guess it'd help you to be a bodybuilder. Note, kids! If you are constantly hungry and eat all the time, you're going to be a bodybuilder. Yes, because that's how logic works. But I'm moving towards adding those sorts of things. So I touched on it briefly, but I didn't actually mention it in any of the developer commentaries. There's now alchemy in the mod. We now have our nice alchemy table. We can put it which way, and it's a multi-block structure, so if I put stuff in here, I can access it from this slot. You know, general alchemy table needs. So this is basically replacing the alchemic chemistry set. So instead of having a nice chemistry set in a brewing stand, you now have one in your alchemy table. And this is replacing basically all of the functions that were in the alchemic chemistry set. So you can see you have a blood orb slot because, you know, powering alchemy needs some sort of energy source. You have an unused slot here, but you also have 6 input slots, the output slot, as well as a progress bar, because progress bar is awesome. Now if you check the usage of the alchemy table, you can press U in JEI and you can see that it uses the alchemy table in order to craft. This is new since the last since the last DevCom, but I've not exactly been up to snuff on these. But anyway, so Alchemy table, and I just gave myself 64. So currently it mainly gives the general things that Alchemy has done in the past. So you can make more flint quickly at the cost of no LP in 20 ticks. This is basically convenience recipe. Another convenience recipe uses flint though, so you have to, well, use the flint that you made. You can make some leather by using some rotten flesh, flint, and water, and other things. Now this is explosive powder. You can make coal sand, which is basically burned in a furnace for basically doubled effectiveness. Make some bread and other things. Now you can also make gunpowder. Already showed that. Now you can also do some ore doubling. Now this ore doubling is slightly different in the sense that it actively uses some resources that you have to think, do I want to double my ore or do I want to use this stuff for something else? It's not going to be a simple power and time sort of thing. You can see it takes 10 seconds and 400 LP to turn one iron ore with some basic cutting fluid into iron sand. So this alchemy is not magic transmute one thing into another. This is more of an alchemy like it was in the olden days, where you'd use science in order to do stuff. So this cutting fluid would cut away all the rock. Now this cutting fluid, you can see it has 16 uses remaining. So you're able to use this item, basic cutting fluid, 16 times before it disappears. Think of it like a metadata type of thing, and it has usage. So this requires some coal sand, some gunpowder, redstone, water bottle, sugar, and some plant oil, which you can get from basically any sort of plant, even beets. And of course you can add your own recipes. I don't have any sort of, I don't know if Mod Tweaker's still around. Anyway, so iron sand, you can use it for smelting. Gold sand is used in actual recipes, so this isn't going to be just ore doubling. This is going to be useful for actual stuff. You also have the explosive powder, which would be able to change the cobblestone into gravel and the gravel into sand. So this would be a simple way, if you do not have any sort of tech mods that are able to do this sort of stuff, you would still have the option to do so in a magic only pack. That's my goal. Well, one of my goals for this alchemy table is to add all of the options that tech mod, basically the staples of a tech mod, like grinding cobblestone into gravel and then sand, stuff like that, which you don't see in alchemy, don't see in magic mods normally. I want you to be able to do that if your mod pack is magic focused. It will obviously cost some stuff to do so, and the cost might not be the best in the world, but there are going to still be more things in the future that will use this alchemy table that is pretty central. For instance, let us get some steak, because we're going to need this, and let's check the Draught of Angelus. Basically the drink of angels. It increases the max points of living armor to 200. So this is going to basically be the method in the future in order to upgrade your living armor to have multiple points. And first let's talk about the fact that the ritual that does the same, raises it to 300, is going to eventually be removed because obviously it's a little imbalanced and I want it to be something that you have to create and strive for. This requires a tier 3 orb at minimum. Drains 20,000 LP and it takes 20 seconds to make. It requires a weak blood shard, fermented spider eye, gold sand, gas tier, some antiseptic, and some neurotoxin. So antiseptic is basically some nice fun stuff. Basically every single type of item, it's not going to be a one thing use only. You're going to be able to use these sort of alchemy stuff for multiple different things. Antiseptic, it just makes sense in this. Basically, you have some gold sand, and these are some of the alchemy components. Gas tier to give you a bit of regeneration. Antiseptic to cure any sort of burning that might happen, and some neurotoxin to dampen your soul network to the point where you're able to accept this. So, game mode 0, time set day, because frankly I can see you're staying there now. And let's have this nice strawberry flavored drink. Wasn't supposed to kill me outright. And What? Okay, I think there's an issue here. Let's try that again. I honestly have no idea why that happened. Game mode 1. Game mode 0, actually. Maybe it's because I was in peaceful mode? There we go. So we can see that this gives you wither, poison, and regeneration. So if you're not prepared with like stuff that will heal you from these negative effects, or if your saturation is low, or if you're low health and you're an idiot, you're gonna not have a very good time. And you can see this upgraded my points to 200. If I were to have another one while I have low hunger, you can see that the upgrade points have increased past 200, so it basically raises it to 200. And ooh, I got an upgrade. What a solar powered, because I'm regenerating in the sunlight. That's great. So yeah, Draught of Angelus is what you're going to want to create if you were to go for that route. So let's briefly talk about what's also going to happen. Potions are going to make a return. That's one of the main uses that all this alchemy stuff is going to be used for. Like that antiseptic might be used for healing, like a weak sword healing. I'm not entirely sure yet how I want to balance the potions, but I know that I want to make it so that you're going to be able to check like potion flask and check the uses of the potion flask, and by checking the usage you'll be able to see what potion effect you'll get from it. Because having undocumented potion effects, it's kind of annoying, especially in this day and age. It's a lot easier to add that sort of check usage of the potion flask, and you'll be able to see what creates what type of potion nowadays with JEI, because JEI is a lot friendlier. So potions will come back eventually. Don't ask for an ETA for that, because honestly I don't even know. So let's move onwards to something a little more array-y. That doesn't even make sense. So alchemy arrays so far in the past have made, well, they've been just crafting. So let's check our reagents. You'd be able to use these different types of reagents in order to make different stuff. Let's see, I think this has a nice texture. So if we were to do our normal crafting, first of all, right click on the ground, and you can notice that they all have different directions. So depending on which direction you look at, you're going to place them in different areas. This might be good if you want to have like a fancy decoration type of thing. Yep, this is a fancy array. And you can see that it also continues for this as well. So yeah. It's not really so much important for these type of crafting arrays, because you're only going to use them once. You're not normally going to just leave them out in the open for decoration, but they are going to be useful for other types of arrays. So I already set the alchemy arrays up in my code already. Man, how many array times am I going to array say already? Let's already get onto it. So for other types of arrays, it's a lot more important. What do I mean by that? So if we place an alchemy array, and instead of putting a reagent in there, we put a feather and a bit of redstone, it'll start to raise up and rotate. And if we were to step into this, we'd get launched forward. Not much of a launch there, because this array, basically when you collide into its bounding box, it's going to launch you forward. However, if you were to jump into it, if I were to jump into it, it'd be a lot farther. So this is the movement array. a simple array. It doesn't have any sort of filtering capabilities. It's just a simple one by one, I guess, a block where if you step into it, you're going to get launched forward. You can do some fun stuff where if you launch forward, check where you are, place another one down, hopefully you get it right, and then do this. You can have some nice fast traveling. And I'm getting a few more stuff. Yay! Man, you know, it'd help if I was prepared for this sort of stuff, but preparedness kind of sucks, so let's just continue. So the other two arrays I have is the tractor array. This one will attract any sort of entity towards it. Let's make another one. Let's do it here, just so we can see it. You can see it's kind of a beacon shaped, and it slowly rotates and then points up in the direction, acting as a beacon for things to follow towards it. And you can chain these effects like that, so the pig will go there, then it'll go there. Basically, the arrays have a cooldown on the entities, and this is not a very good demonstration because I wasn't really planning to show you guys this yet, but oh well. There's a certain limited range, there's no sort of filtering, but let's go onwards to the next one because I need to set up for this. So the next array is kind of dangerous. What you're going to need is, well, let's just put it this way. There's no real good base defense in the mod currently. I mean, sure, you can have pit traps, redstone contraptions, but it's not really that fun. What if we were to make a turret? So if we were to have an arrow and redstone. Was it redstone? I'm pretty sure it was redstone. Feather, yes, arrow and a feather. You can see we have the skeleton turret array. If you manage to find a skeleton and trap them in the array, they're not going to attack you. They'll attack other things, assuming that it's set up right. Hey, attack! Thank you. Man, it's like you have the stormtrooper upgrade. Attack him, please. I guess we need some dramatic lighting. I said dramatic lighting. Man. Preparedness obviously is not the key for my success. So let's do this. Let's actually get an enclosure so that the skeleton won't miss this time, hopefully. No, that's just not going to work. Like this, and we'll go like this. And like that, I guess. If the zombie manages to escape from this, I will be surprised. So, we have our own predicament over here, so obviously that's... Oh, it shot at it, though. Ha! There we go. And you can see that our friendly skeleton, our friendly neighborhood skeleton, is attacking the zombie. Now, if you were to manage to find a skeleton that has an enchanted bow, that'd be quite fun for this. So, the plan for these, let's set it today, because I don't want to deal with any sort of squishiness on my behalf. So the plan for this, these alchemy arrays are kind of twofold. One of the main things is that I want these to be a method in order to make sacrifice a viable option. Currently in the mod, without these, you don't have any sort of advanced control about entity movement until later on in the mod, which is not very helpful. My goal is that you should be able to choose any sort of path that you want, be it sacrifice or self-sacrifice. Currently in the mod, self-sacrifice is hands down the best path that you can do. If you don't do self-sacrifice, you're kind of behind the curve right now, and that's not very fun. Like, for instance, I know that Dyer is trying to do a sacrifice build on his altar. However, you're only able to use cursed earth to make sacrifice even a viable half attempt at stuff. Yeah, that's very good English, please. Where are we going to do with you? I think your sanity is a little away. Anyway, so advanced control of mobs is one of the plans, and also some fun stuff. So like a bouncing array. You don't have a slime block, but you have a piece of slime and some arcane ash. Now you can make an array, and if you fall on that array, you're going to bounce up into the air. And some other like levitation arrays, arrays of that sort of aspect, teleportation arrays that you'd be able to go up to a wall, step on an array, and then teleport through it to an array on the other side. Those sort of things. However, I want to make sure that each and every single array here has limited area, because these are like tier 1 stuff. Tier 1 and tier 2 stuff. These ingredients aren't going to be difficult to make. Only the reagents I feel like I want to make as very difficult. So that means there are going to be some advanced limitations, unfortunately, on these sorts of arrays. For instance, I can't really bring myself to make these alchemy arrays able to sort very effectively. For instance, this array is basically like the speed ritual. The only difference is that the effect is smaller. However, why would you ever want to make a speed ritual after you have these sorts of arrays? You can just like, I'm gonna make a speed array, so now I have a much wider area. I can just go like this. Sure, your arcane ash is going to eventually go, but that doesn't matter. You still manage to make a very cheap solution for your movement problems. Man, that kind of looks cool. Ooh, it made me actually go the full distance without having to jump on it. Though jumping still gives the full distance. Anyway, so any array. Yeah, those are my general thoughts on these. I want to make them cool. I want to make them something that you actually want to use. I want to make the alchemy inside them make sense. However, I also want to add the limitations so that you actually have to use other parts of the mod. And, fun thing that I just recently realized, items get flown too, which makes these actually a lot more powerful than they were before. So I don't know how I feel about sorting. I guess you can leave your comments in the, comments below. Anyway, that's all the time we have for this episode of Blood Magic Developer Commentaries. If you like what you see or have suggestions, don't forget to rate, comment, and possibly subscribe to future episodes. WayofTime here, signing off. I'm going to make an alchemy array. Power! Have a wonderful day.